Okay, call the Infrastructure Committee to order. Notice the meeting was properly posted on Thursday, July 7th. All three offices are present. Item 1 is to approve the minutes of June 27th.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2 is an update on our HVAC issues on the 9th floor.
We have air conditioning up there now. The systems are working, but we'll expect more problems. Also, we've been working with Chantel. We've determined what fan coil units we need and what valving and control items for each fan coil unit up there. I believe we have nearly 40 of them, and she's working with vendors to get us pricing. Right?
Okay. Charles, you have anything you want to add?
No questions.
Okay. Is there a motion to receive the update?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3 is our courthouse elevator upgrade project.
They're here, they're working, and we're on schedule.
Wow. Motion to receive that.
So
report.
moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. 4 is possible action on a vicinity agreement.
Nothing new at all.
Where are yeah.
I've been told that they have an agreement. It's with their legal department, and I've been calling every so often to find out where we are, and that's the word I get.
Okay. Anything else for Keith on that? All right. Motion to receive that update.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5 is an update on our TIF projects for TIF 2.
Well, the project that probably needs to be advanced next is the front entrance. The first domino that falls, the books still need to be removed. It's kind of where we left off the last time we discussed it. The staff is going to make a recommendation that we move them to this location in the ICB. That's kind of a floor plan layout. Depending on the appointments that you want, in the walls and the flooring and so forth, that cost very variable. So we got a little bit more work to do there, but we ballpark it in the $500,000 to $1 million range to make that happen. So you'd have to identify the funding where we get it. Once you did that, we could get started, but I think that's where our challenge is right now.
So out of all the places that these could possibly go, including this building and the space directly across the hall from where they're currently at, this is still the best option?
We
or is
think
this
so.
an option that we were...
It's an option that consolidates everything in one spot for efficiency. If you put them in this building, they're going to be kind of scattered out on probably 2 floors. And it could work. You could do them by dates or something, but the people that would be managing it would be inefficient for them. We're not opposed to that plan. We're advancing this as the best plan for efficiency.
For the storage and preservation of these books, does the clerk have specific funds for this?
They have a preservation fund. I'm not clear on what they can spend that on.
You're looking for $500,000 for this project? Is that what you said?
Yeah, but I'm not. Yes, you'd have to ask others if you can spend their fund to make that happen.
Whose responsibility is it to store and preserve these books?
The county clerk.
Okay.
And kind of to Miles's earlier question, Stacy, about utilizing the space on the south side of 1. I get they would have to maybe walk across the hall occasionally, but
And we'd have to move some to 2.
You said this was $500,000 to $600,000 in ICB. Best case.
Yeah, in the $500,000 to $1 million range, depending on how we appoint the space.
And what about the first floor option?
It'd be probably a little bit less money, but I'm not sure how much less. You're still gonna be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to build it out.
Keep in mind, I'm sorry to interject here, but keep in mind that we have the asbestos issues that we have to contend with on the first floor. That alone will cause extra time and money. The first floor of the Investors Capital building, you could begin work over there in 60 days.
This must be one of those things you don't know what you don't know. Storing books and putting down some flooring and tearing down a wall that's already been placed. What am I not seeing here? Where's the hundreds of thousands of dollars just to move some books across the hall? Why aren't we disturbing asbestos that's in the ceiling?
If you want to change the lighting, if you want to change the ceiling,
Is there lighting in it now?
there is.
Is there ceilings in it now?
There is.
Can't we work around that?
Sure.
Do we have to make a Taj Mahal every time?
No.
Okay.
It's nice to have a finished product that you don't have to go back and fix. So do it right the first time and don't have to bother with it again. Plus, the space is occupied by the abstractors currently on the far end, and it's a construction management location for everything that's happening with bathrooms and the sixth floor.
But that will go away.
The shelving units that are in place now are just singular standalone units, correct? Not the type that can be rolled and collapsed to
Correct, yeah,
save
there's-
space.
Yeah, they don't have that down there.
And is that a possibility?
Not, my understanding is no. The reason is we would be putting too much weight per square inch
foot. Okay.
on that
And
concrete. I think they tested it before. Stacy, step in if I'm wrong. We've actually got some concerns about some of the shelving units that are there now because they're encased in metal. Each book is encased in some sort of metal sheathing.
Right.
Yeah, we've got to spread them out more than they are now wherever we move them to, and that that's why you need a bigger space to move them to. You can't move them to an equivalent space.
ICB being a former paper warehouse and having been built for storage of that type of item is probably more suitable.
And
My question is displacement of those that are there, continuing to move forward with security entrance. How do we pay for this project? It just seems like every time that we start a project in Oklahoma County, we'll see in 6 years and it's going to be 3 times as much as we originally said it was going to be.
Does it make sense to take that money and just digitize the product instead? Create a system to access it digitally?
There's an idea.
I think they're doing that now, and they've got some of this stuff stored off site up in Kansas or somewhere, but they'll always have a certain amount of books that are still physically here.
I mean, if you look at spending $500,000, that might be a great, I mean, kind of kill two birds with one stone. At least look at the cost of it.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, the place that was, some of the places that store items like this, actually, you can actually contract and they will digitize as well as store items like this.
and it would seem that
I mean, accessibility is the main thing. I'm sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I mean, then you just create it incredibly accessible if you digitize it. I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead.
I was going to say that I haven't looked at the Records Preservation Fund in depth, but digitization, I can't talk today, would certainly seem to fit within the permissible use of
And
that.
they are currently doing that. I think it takes years,
Level
and
right to Miles's point, could they speed the process up where,
I can't answer that question if
I
they
mean,
can
because
speed it up.
if it's true, like you say, that they're always gonna have some level of books here,
That's my
then
understanding.
perhaps they only need a small footprint.
What books is there a statutory requirement to have these books on site of the courthouse or because technically they're not even in the courthouse right now. This is a complex, this is a separate building. So if they're supposed to statutorily be in the courthouse, we're probably already outside those guidelines. So let's start looking at getting these things off-site, stored properly, and digitized, and let's free up some room, and let's move. Am I off base here?
There is currently remodeled space on the second floor at the west end that could house
A
a
portion.
good deal of those books.
So, to that then, is there enough room to move the books that we need to capture the space so we're not continuing to sit on high center on a project that's probably more important, that being the spacing out and the security?
I think when I looked at that before, I couldn't get enough books on the west end up here to free up all the space we needed. I've got to go to a second location, and then I would be able to move enough books to get our other project going. The waiting on the digitization of this, you'll be waiting years before you do your other project because the books physically have to get out of the way.
How much of the current books, since we've been doing digitization for a while now, how many of the current books that are on site are already digitized that don't need to be here? Do we know that? Have we
I
asked
don't.
that question?
I don't know
That seems to be like question number one to get answered.
Because if
Number-
we can move books off-site, we can capture the space we need on one by moving to two, and then we've freed up excess space.
That's a good plan.
Number two, it would seem to be that if we're going to push for the digital transformation of these books, and we have a document preservation fund, and we're storing documents in Kansas or wherever, let's get some discussion going and see how quickly we can get all these things digitized and stored for historic preservation in a place that is much better than the county courthouse. I mean, if we're truly worried about the historic preservation of items from 120 years ago, 140 years ago, letting people handle them daily and keeping them in a environment such as it is, where humidity swings ups and downs, that's not historic. We're not preserving documents. Let's get them somewhere where we can preserve them. Just a thought. And then we can move forward and protect our employees
And the
against-
public.
and the public.
Yeah,
Novel concepts.
I'd like to know, as Miles asked, how many books that are currently being housed here have been digitized? What then does that do if we can get rid of some of those to some other location? Currently, they're already, as you said, Kansas. So people don't drive to Kansas. It'd be my assumption that people aren't driving to Kansas when they want to look at those records, that they're accessing them somehow. So it wouldn't seem, of course, I'm not the clerk, so I don't know, but it wouldn't seem that that's what's occurring. So it wouldn't seem to be a problem to move things that are digitized that may be here now to whatever location that is. And then we can free up space and get moving on our project. I think that's what I would like to know the answers to.
Yeah.
Very good.
maybe some of the time frame on getting everything digitized. So mainly the newer records, let's say 1980 to present. Mostly everything that's newer and relevant is all indexed, and it all has images, and it is all backed up.
Is it are those books, if you will, still on site, the hard copies?
There are, but the further back you go to creation date of statehood, that's where you're starting to look at a huge amount of work to get everything digitized. I mean, you've got 20 years of imaging and indexing
With what's digitized?
with the amount of staff that we've had. I mean, we'd have to hire or outsource that project to get it done in any timely manner.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's a chip away process we do on requests to fill those. If somebody calls in and they need an older image, we get that out to them that day and updated. But as far as just getting every single thing out of every book, I mean, that's a long, long project.
I think we recognize that, but I think our question goes to what you said. So basically 1980 forward has been digitized.
The closer you get to now, I mean, everything from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000.
And how much space is currently being taken up either in the existing location where those books are housed or potentially on the second floor? How much space can we free up if we move those to your offsite location?
A lot of those books that are down there are accessed on a daily basis. I mean, I would say your later books, you could move those off, your higher number books, but I could go down there and give it a look, but
I mean, if they're able to access it on a computer screen.
They are, but like I said, you know, you've got those cases to where you've got some images missed or data that's misindexed that has to be fixed. And if we move all those books off site, then you have people that come here to run land records, and you know they don't have the books available to go back to patent.
Right.
So you've got an issue there to where you're calling up a storage facility like UVS and requesting and paying for them to pull books and make copies. Carrie Hudson also is the real estate director, and she is very knowledgeable on all of this. But those books are there for that reason, just because you know we don't have it all indexed, and when you know they're trying to chain title together, you know they want to dig in those books. And a lot of the older school people, they don't want to get online. I know that, but you know.
So even though they're all digitized, they're not necessarily indexed properly to facilitate what the books are actually used for, correct?
That, and like I said, a lot of that goes back to, you know, bad images or technology that has changed to where we have software and procedures in place to better those images than we had when they were fixed years
Process
ago.
began.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know how much space you're looking to clear up, but moving all of those books is that would cause issues for sure.
That would be the ideal.
Yeah.
Ideally,
Ideally,
every single one of
Carrie
those
would need-
pages would be digitized. And we
Ideally,
could go
Carrie
to
would
a-
need another 10, 15, 20 employees full time to index around the clock to get those out of here in a timely fashion, or move them off site to another facility to do indexing there. But
that's the
outsourcing this type of work in the past has shown to be a failure. Work does not get done properly unless checks and balances are done on a lot of the legals are paragraphs.
It's not like just pulling. Thanks.
Welcome.
It's not like just going and pulling a particular book or being able to pull a particular file, something like that. If you're running chain of title, or you know, like your landman doing the research for, you know, royalties and that kind, you're pulling hundreds and hundreds of documents
Right.
to view. So we have to have access to those documents.
And the online access, you say some of them have bad images.
Right. Which was, you know, greatly a part of a project that, you know, we did pay a lot of money to have that done, but it's not something that is, it's not a matter of just scanning something.
I withdraw my suggestion.
I missed, what was the suggestion?
Just the digitize.
Oh.
Go.
No, the digitizing is, we're in the 21st.
Well, as a solution to what we're trying to.
21st century here.
Yeah.
The other, when you look at states across the country that are pulling title for landmen and
Mhm.
such, a lot of times they don't even have to leave their computer
Okay.
from their office. They don't have to go to courthouses and stuff like that. Now they do from time to time, still have to do that, but it's not every time I have to go down to a courthouse type
Right.
situation.
And that is true here too.
Yeah.
I mean,
90% of the
right.
cases here, we've done a lot of research and looked at other counties, and we have way more online than any other municipality of our size. You're not gonna find images back to statehood, you're not gonna be able to find, to be
Right.
able to do all of that, 100 years worth of records, we haven't been able to find that.
So you're saying that
Available online.
90% of the time, the landmen can sit in their office and pull title, but when they need to, that other 10% of the time, they come down here.
That's a rough figure, but
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, you can see that based on the number of people that you see, you know, standing around in, you know, the book room,
Right.
versus what we have had in the past.
Yeah.
They're not standing there waiting on books, but they do still need those books, and we still do, you know.
From time to time, yes.
So
Right.
this takes me back to, we're not going to solve this, in my opinion. So we need to focus on how do we gain the space we need to move forward with a project that we've said we need to do now going on 3 years.
3 years?
And so my request is, if you haven't, or if you have, get with them again to determine what's been digitized and what can be moved off site to free up the space that we need minimally to begin.
Or across the hall.
Or
Or,
across the
you
hall.
know, or giving us an option on, you know, where those can be moved, that the public would still have access, like across the hall.
I mean, so here's the way I understood. And I'm going to use your 90-10. If we're only accessing these books 10% of the time, do they have to be here? If we have 3 and 4 people a week accessing those,
Yes.
why yes? I'm not restricting access. Nobody's going to restrict access. Nobody's restricting access. The question is, do they have to be here?
Yes.
And that's opinion or statutory?
Right. We have to have them available for public inspection
Okay.
by statute. Yes.
Available in this, the question is not whether we're making them available to the public. The question is whether they have to walk through these doors to this floor or the first floor, as opposed to walking through the first floor of the ICB or the first floor of the former social services building or the first floor of Lincoln or any other county-owned facility in Oklahoma County. I think that's what Miles is trying to ask.
Correct. I mean, even down the street at the court clerk's storage.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we have to staff that. So, you know, we have access to them. I have 2 employees that are in that book room,
Yeah.
you know, on a daily basis, that are pulling those books on a daily basis. So if you're, you know, saying that they're not in the building, then, you know, that could be a staffing issue as well. Plus the equipment that we need to digitize, or, you know, if, I mean, we've got a wide format printer that is used for the oversized. So if you're, you know, putting them outside of where, you know, the printer is, then that's, you know, gonna be an equipment issue also.
I know, like, Department of Corrections went out and bought specialized equipment to help counties, municipalities, the state, and a lot of people to digitize their old records.
Right.
And each one of those counties, municipalities, et cetera, are able to contract with DOC. I don't know that that's still there, but I know that it was 2 to 3 years ago. But there are other companies out there that we could give timelines to, and we could use funds to speed this process up and help you guys and help us at the same time. And going back all the way to statehood. I mean, going back pre-statehood, which are some of the records. I mean, we've got 1889 records.
Correct.
So
Where were the books kept previously?
They were on the second floor. Yeah, before the remodel. So yeah, they, you know,
For the
always
job to
been
get done the correct way,
accessible.
Carrie needs more employees. They need to be trained properly, and then it needs to go through the data verification process that we have in-house that realizes accurate data.
Not everybody can map out illegal,
So here's
especially
gonna-
if it's in India.
this is going to sound like a crazy question.
Yeah.
This seems like a way to do, harken back to old times, social distancing. And it seems like a nice little project for ARPA funds. Did we submit anything like this to see if we could digitize this and keep
No,
people
we
off of
haven't.
campus?
Yeah, we haven't.
Okay.
What was
As
the
far
answer?
as you,
Yes or no?
right,
Yeah.
I mean, right, correct,
Exactly.
right, yeah.
So
So I mean, it's
Lots of-
definitely something we can,
lots of possible long-term solutions,
right,
but get with them, figure out how we get our space that we need, and let's get moving on the project that's been 3 years in the making.
I think Cross Hall probably uses
I do too, but
right.
Yeah.
But,
and now's
you
the
know,
time to
moving
do
them
that.
across the hall is acceptable, you know.
Yeah, Cross the Hall is easiest.
Right, I mean, that's.
I think
that-
everybody
Right, I mean, that seems
says
like an
that's
easy
easy.
solution. Right. With still, you know, a long-term,
Right.
you
And
know,
that's the big
goal
deal.
too, but for an immediate solution, I mean, that, because nobody's gonna give us an immediate
Right.
scanning and indexing solution.
No, that might be something we need to work out with Chantel and do a bid and see if we can get somebody to come in and digitize stuff. Private company and move forward. I mean, I can get on Ancestry.com and chase documents all the way back to 1400 in Scotland or something. It seems to me that we could scan to 1889.
It's a little bit more intuitive than that.
Yeah.
It's a training. Somebody needs to be trained at least for a few months to know what they're doing with legal indexing. You
Yeah.
can't just pick it up.
And there are companies out there. I mean, there's companies we work with through some of our national organizations that, you know, that do understand land
The
records.
preservation.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's probably best. I mean, instead of ramping you up with another 15, 20 employees or bogging down your process daily, it's probably best for us to look at outside companies and see what we could do to, contract.
We have done that, and we have researched that.
Hey, Danny.
You're still going to get information that's not indexed properly. You're still going to get images it's a big workshop of people that don't work here. They don't have a supervisor. They're working on 3 different projects. They don't care.
How much space do we need again? How many feet? Is it 30?
I mean, how many feet are we talking about? That might,
I mean, we've had
Help
this
us,
conversation.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even, I mean, I know at
It's
one
about
time it was
2/3.
just like 12 feet,
No, it's
which was,
2/3 of the space.
you know, which was just gonna remove like 2 shelving units, which was doable, but,
It's more like a dozen now.
so,
I think it,
yeah,
right in the
dozens
middle
quite
of
a
the
bit
doorstep or doorway.
to where
So that would be ideal to take that
Where you
move it
go in
across.
the door. It's where the new wall
everything
is.
whole.
towards,
About 2/3 space.
Excuse me real quick. And let me ask again, those books, just those books that need to be removed, could not be relocated over here in the large space on the west end?
I don't, when you spread them out for weight, I don't think they'll fit. All of them. Some of them will, but not all of them.
not that
The newer cases that were recased with puts extremely large amount of weight that did not exist when they were up here.
That's correct. Yeah, those are the ones that when we brought that structural engineer, they were like,
It's very hard to
wait.
justify spending $2 or $3 or whatever $1 million on a project that is so low on a request basis that we can fill those requests immediately when those spotty requests come in. So it's been very hard to even stomach thinking about spending taxpayers' money that way, just because of, we've got the good majority of it in there and available. It's very hard to justify that. That's why it's kind of just been a chip at it process.
Yeah, but we're looking at upwards of $1 million to build out space for you as well. So it's trying to understand that balance. But again, get with Carrie, get with Danny, please, and see what we can do to come up with the space to get moving on the project. Because we've had design done, correct?
Yes, we're close on the design for the project.
And so that's money that we spent that is essentially, as it sets, wasted because we can't figure out how to move books just to start a project.
Yeah, that's been the whole.
Hi, Danny.
Sorry, I'm coming late to the party here, but what options are on the table? Just a quick summary.
Golly, Danny.
West side or
The
sorry,
west
south
side and
uh,
south side of one.
south side of one.
And we were told that wasn't a workable solution because people would have to cross the hall, which potentially using some of the space on two, spending anywhere between 500,000 and $1 million in ICB. Additional digitizing of the records, although that probably doesn't get us where we need to be fast enough. Am I missing? Oh, there was a possibility of buying another building,
There was a satellite location point.
which is 2.5 to 3.5 or $4 million. Again, talking about funds. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's it.
Did I miss? Okay.
So you need 2/3 of the space. Is that what we're saying that we currently have? And what about the space across the hall, directly across the hall?
Yeah, I think it'll house part of them. When you spread them out for weight, it'll house part of them. The rest of them will have to go to two. There's no one location that'll house everything in one spot unless you go to, that's why we had the ICB as an option, because then everything could be in one spot.
And it's not acceptable to have two locations in the same building. Is that correct, Joe? Is that
That's a question for them.
Yeah. Do you think there's room for incorporating the second floor and the south side of the first floor?
As long as we can access them and the public can access them.
What's the footprint of the ICB building? Because that's what you've got. That's how much square footage you got there,
Yeah, that's about 7,000 feet.
which houses all of them.
That's your key point. That was a $500,000 to the $1.5 million figure.
For ICB.
That's right. See,
Oh, you're saying across the hall. Sorry. Sorry.
be something
Sorry.
less across the hall, but I don't have a
Yeah,
They
exact
said
figure.
it's still a couple $100,000, which I find incredible. But that's,
Well, you gotta, prepare the space. I mean, we gotta put in new floors and things of that nature.
I think from what we're hearing, that would be the best option, is to keep them all on the same floor, at least even if they're across the hall, some are across the hall from each other. They're close, in close proximity. Or even if we have to move some more up to the second floor.
Or look at moving some of the newer books that are fully indexed to UVS with the rest of the books. A portion. Just, I mean,
Can you get with them to discuss all of those?
I mean, it's not a single magic bullet. It is a all of the above solution that we've got to. I mean, this one's an issue, and then we spend a lot of money every year in records storage. I don't want to start adding to that, so we have to start solving this solution of storing paper.
Okay, I just heard that purchasing has offered to give up their space, possibly, as an option. Yeah. And that's quite a bit of space on that end of the hall, if we could push some of the books further down that way.
Where do we move purchasing?
Third floor was the
We looked at that at
previous
one
discussion.
time. We looked at the third floor for purchasing.
And it wouldn't,
First,
it wouldn't require a whole lot. I mean, we were in that space for a considerable amount of time
Which one?
on the third floor. But,
And then that one as well. On the first floor as well.
yeah, I forgot. Those were temporary homes.
How
So,
long ago was that?
third floor was when Commissioner Bloomert was first elected. The end of Willa's term, Commissioner Bloomert, beginning of her term. That was 6, 7, 8 months on 3 maybe. And then first floor, I think we were there a couple of years. I don't know. Before we got to 6. Something like that. I don't know. I've been on, since I've been here, I've been on 2, 1, 3, 6, and ICB. So,
Well, thank you for your willingness to be flexible.
you know, and attempt to save money. Yeah.
Andy, what's your preferred?
And just for my own curiosity, I'm kind of hearing some urgency here, although we've been talking about this for 3 or 4 years. Why the urgency now?
Well, because
We have access to funding that has a timeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything? Danny, thanks. Carrie, thank you. All right. Anything else? Is there a motion to receive the discussion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Where does that take us now? All right. Speaking of money, the TIF 2 and TIF 2A budgets.
no changes.
Okay, any questions of Stacy?
Are we completely caught up on our reimbursements and everything?
Yes, we've got one left on TIF 2. As soon as it comes in, we'll close that one as well.
You've already submitted the paperwork for it to get reimbursed, or we're
No,
working
I'm
on
putting it
submitting
together. I'm putting it together right now. I think there's 200 and some thousand left.
All right, motion to receive.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 7 is our XXX project.
As I reported at the last meeting, that road is open. Things are going well. Mitigation project's just about to complete, possibly this week.
Okay. Do you see a need to continue to have this item?
No, I'll probably take it off.
I'll move to strike it.
All right, there's a motion to strike.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 8 is the capital improvements list.
No changes.
Okay, questions? No action. 9 is maintenance of our security infrastructure.
David Bazin has given me equipment replacement pricing for the courthouse annex, ICB, and JJC, totaling about $65,000 for new metal detectors. And that's what they prefer, rather than using what we have in place. The technology apparently has changed. And I have those quotes in front of me. Now, the ICB would require a contract with sheriff's deputies to be present there. That would be an additional sum.
That's
How
part
does-
of the holistic
Yeah,
thing
thank
that
you.
we're looking at. That's in addition to, that's not 65,000 to replace everything. That's 65,000 in addition to, correct?
Yes.
And then Chantel was working on that. I don't know, I don't recall off the top of my head. Chantel, have we received bids? There were questions that people were looking to bid. Help me out.
Excuse me, for the last couple of meetings, it's been touched on that once we received from the RFI, the information from different vendors, we had the group of different departments come together. We organized that in kind of like a summary. Many of that is available on available government contracts. And I think David Bazin has been through this a couple of times, and he had a document from David Bazin that was submitted to record for the board. That summary is the whole holistic view, even to the point of road closures that it included. But the next step would be, what is the next step that this board wants to do? If we wanted to go to bid for those things, or if we wanted to find dollars, or he had a dollar amount that he kind of presented. I don't know if that was acceptable or not. So we've been, or at least on my part, waiting for instruction.
My memory's not as good as it used to be. So if we received that summary, I don't remember. Did we get that? Did this group receive that summary?
Yes. I think it may have been at the last meeting. I don't remember which one. It was just a front and back paper, and there were different colored highlighted
Oh, that, okay.
sections. And the different colored highlights, one referred to the RFI and a couple that did not, but it was the whole holistic view.
Okay.
I can bring that, or send it, I can send that to you guys one more time. We could take a look at that and see what direction we want to go in. That you all want to go in.
All right. Well, thank you, Keith, for getting with Captain Bazin. All right, is there a motion to receive?
Motion.
So move. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Citizen participation, anybody? Board comments? Charles?
None.
Austin?
Nothing.
None here. New business? Adjourned.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Second.
Aye.
Nothing new there. There would be 2 new metal detectors located in the ICB, and the proposal from the sheriff's office was for 3 uniformed deputies to man those pieces of equipment from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it would be a total of $107,586.30. That's incorrect.
Keith, I was thinking that,
That's incorrect. I'm sorry, that figure is $215,172.60 annually for 3 uniformed deputies.
What would that look like if we moved books over to ICB on the first floor?
What
we
would
still
what
be doing
look
it?
like?
So security wise, how would you, because I know that we have an existing plan. Yeah. We're gonna force everybody in that way?
I think
I
what
thought
Miles
this
is
plan
asking
was-
is how would you access the rest of the building? Emergency egress only. That's according to the most recent configuration as the ICB is operated now. I'm sure that would have to be adjusted some if books were placed over there on the first floor.
Thank you.
Keith, I was thinking that we came up with a plan where we only needed 2 officers, if we borrowed like one for half an hour or whatever from the annex.
I asked the sheriff's department what it would take to keep deputies in place for that time frame, and the answer was 3 deputies at that figure. I know when Deputy Neal's across the street in the Metro parking garages, when he is on vacation, we have access to other sheriff's deputies who are working here when and if we need them. But the suggestion, and again, the times of day at which the building would need to be manned are located here, and this is his figure.
Yeah, I think the difference is like a half hour extra, going from 2 men to 3 men to get that extra half hour taken.
Motion to receive report.
Second.
Thank.
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Motion to adjourn.
second.
Aye.